Hey, what's going on, class? Welcome to Graphing Tricks 1. This is kind of just one of the first things that you can do, assuming that you've figured out the brute force method. The brute force method is really good because it forces you to apply things that you've been learning for the last, I don't know, 5 years, and actually getting to use it towards some end. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to slightly change what we're doing. Instead of having this kind of blind love and immediately jumping to going 0, 1, 2, -1, -2, instead of just blindly going to this and doing the same thing every single day, we're going to be a little smarter about this. We're going to make a little bit better decision in what we're doing. Because how many of you want to plug in 10 values? Like if your options are 10 values to plug in to this equation, or if I said you only have to plug in 5 values, which would you prefer? I think all of us sit there and go, I'd rather plug in 5. Even if you love doing it, if you can only plug in 5, then the effort of you plugging in 10 values, you're still getting the same amount of fun in the end of plugging in 10 values. But now you're solving 2 questions instead of 1. So even if you're in that camp of, I don't want to do the 10 values, well, now you don't have to do 10 values for each question. We just took and cut your work in half. For those of you who love doing it, you love what's called plug and chug mathematics, then now you're getting to do even more questions. But what we need to know is we need to think about on a quadratic. I'm just going to get a quick little sketch of one here. A quadratic is symmetrical. There's this line here, the axis of symmetry, about which this thing is perfectly symmetrical. And this point here, the vertex is where the quadratic intersects with the axis of symmetry. So if we knew the axis of symmetry, well, we'd be set. We wouldn't have to keep doing all of this hard work. So there's a formula, and I'm going to tell you, write this every single time you use it. In fact, really, what I would say is right now, pause the video, and I want you to write this thing in blue. I would say write this thing like 20 times. It's quick, it's easy, but it's going to save you if you remember this thing. So the axis of symmetry is x equals the opposite of b divided by 2 times the a value. Well, maybe it's important to go, okay, what are the a and b and c values? So a standard form quadratic is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. The a, b, and c values are only the letters out front. They are only the numbers out front. It's only the number, not the x. So here we have this -1, the -6, and the -10. And I said this was a -1 because technically there's a little phantom 1 there. So in this formula, we have our a, b, and c values. So we're going to take and plug those things in to this formula here. Let me get my pink pen back. So I have that x equals the opposite of -6 divided by 2 times -1. So count up your negative signs. We have here 1, 2, 3. If the number of negatives is, oh, I lost it all. If the number of negatives is odd, this whole thing is going to stay negative. So this is going to be -6 divided by 2, or -3. What that means, this is saying that this axis of symmetry is the line x equals -3. So we don't have to do a bunch of work. Excuse me. We can just come right here and go, -3. And then go, we need 2 points above it and 2 points below it. And that's it. That's all we have to do. Now, as you're starting off, and maybe you're not ready to start thinking about this too far out, just do the values directly next to it. You can just go here, -2, -1, -4, -5. My only advice is make sure that whatever your distance is from this number to this number is the same as this distance here. Because then you only have to plug in really 3 values instead of 5. Like, you're already doing better than I said you were going to. So now, as we're looking at this thing, we just need to start plugging in some values. And I'm just going to stick with these values here. So if I plug in -3, I have -3 squared minus 6 times -3 minus 10. -3 squared is 9. So I have -9 plus 18 minus 10. So I have 9 minus 10, or -1. So I'm going to put my -1 there. And that's my vertex. Then I'm going to plug in whichever value seems nicer. Personally, I'd rather stick with smaller things to square. So I'm going to go this direction. So I have -2 squared minus 6 times -2 minus 10. Or -4 plus 12 minus 10. Or -4 plus 2. So -2. Which means also that 4, because these are the same distance away on either side of the vertex, is -2. Quickly, just to finish this one up, and then I'm going to have to go because the bell just rang. Plugging in our values here, we get -1 plus 6 minus 10. So I get 5 minus 10, or -5. So that's kind of the quicker way that you can go through and plug in these values and get a nice graph. You just have to take these values and graph it, plot it on the XY table, and you're set there. If you have any questions, please come in. Class is starting right now, so I gotta go. But come in, ask questions during class. Ask questions during lunch or before school or after school. Come in. I want to answer your questions, and especially after school during 7th period. I struggle to do much productive, but I can talk about math during 7th. So please come in and ask me questions then. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you today in class, hopefully.